So I wanted to do a quick video on replacing the master cylinder in your trailer. As you can see, my trailer master cylinder is gone. You're not supposed to be able to do that. So what I didn't understand was that if you come back here, you can't access the back of the brake line. There's no way to access the back of the brake line even through there. So what you have to do is come all the way back to the back part where your brake line releases. It's under here. All the way over here. There's a clip. You got to release that and then put a string on it so that way you can retrieve it back out that little hole right there. Didn't know anything about this when I saw lots of videos on ones that were right there, but on this one it's really far down. It's all right there. There's videos on how to remove that clip, but you got to remove that clip. You got to let it go back into that hole when you pull on your whole assembly. You want to tie a piece of string at the end of that, at the end of the brake line there, so that way when you're done, you got your master cylinder back, you can retrieve it. But just so you know, that's why a lot of people are going to end up breaking their solenoids at the end of their fittings, because they'll break. So when you knock this pin out and you knock this pin out and you go to pull your assembly out, it won't allow you because you've got that brake line in the back there connected. So you got to disconnect that, then you'll be able to pull this assembly out. So I'm going to do another video on me doing that after I order it. So just ordered the part here. It's just got here today. This is how it comes when you're on a little box like that. Comes with the everything fully assembled. You get the shock, master cylinder, and the breakaway cord. It's all pre-assembled for you. Last thing I wanted to do was just replace the master cylinder and find out in the cord and find out, oh, I needed one more thing. And that one more thing would have bought me a whole new assembly. So I just figured, why not get it? So I'll be putting that in just a moment here. So this is the fitting right here up close. That's got to come off right there, and then slide into here, and then you got to be able to retrieve it back through this hole. So you tie string right here, and hopefully when you put the old one in, you'll be able to kind of see it in the hole here, and pull your string and kind of guide it through. Should come close back to the same position, but it's just going to help a little bit more to have a string right here tied around here so you can bring it back through. It's going to be tough to get this off, so I'm going to spray some penetrating lubricant on it, and hopefully that will make it a little easier to break off. Okay, so what I did was I put, because this looked pretty stripped out right here, I put a pair of vice grips on this end, and it just came right off. It was no problem after I'd sprayed some penetrating lubricant on there. It looks like you're supposed to, I've seen some videos where you need to take this clip off and all that, but this doesn't look like you're going to need to. I took this side off right here, and it looks like this is going to come right off, and as soon as it does, it should just go right back into this hole, and then I should be able to pull the whole assembly out freely. So we'll see what happens. So oddly enough, this little screw right here is a 10 millimeter. I just put the 10 millimeter on there. It came right off. So now I'm just gonna tie a string on it and pull the whole assembly out. Hopefully it comes right out smoothly. We will see. Okay, got the string on. Gonna go work on the main assembly now. Okay, so now I'm back here at the front, getting ready to pull this thing out. And there's these cotter pins, and I'm gonna try to see if I can use some needle nose pliers. Other people have the little removal tool, whatever. I don't have it, so I'm gonna try to do this and see if it works. If not, I'm gonna have to go buy me a set of these cotter pin removal tools or whatever. So as you can see, work like a charm. Just get yourself some needle nose pliers. You should be able to pull that rod out right there. Okay, you ready?
It is.
Okay. So what you're going to want to do to get these pins out is knock them out with a hammer. I've heard of them being really easy to come out, and some of them are really hard. This seems like it's giving me a little bit of a problem. Let's try this one. Alright, that one came out real easy. Let's try this one again. Cut it. Okay, so this other one I've been having a little bit of problem getting out. This one came out no problem. So instead of smashing my fingers, I came up with this hammer and a bolt, because you really need to get some leverage on it. It seems to be working. So I'm having a bit of problems with the back one. This front one is, coming right out with no problems. It just, comes right out. That one I've been beating on it for a good 10 minutes and I got it going out that much. So if you've had, it in there for a while, who knows? Sometimes they get stuck, sometimes they don't, so I'll be beating on it some more. Okay, so I finally got that sucker out. I have no idea why it was so hard to get out, but it literally took me an hour. And I just banged on it and banged on it and banged on it. Actually messed up that one end and it wouldn't go through because of that. So then I had to bang it back to the other side and got a pair of vice grips and put it on there and twist it around to flatten it back out again. But yeah, that was about an hour and about a gallon of sweat to get that out. So now I'll be pulling that whole assembly out. Hopefully it comes right out. We'll see. Okay, so here it goes. Oh wow. I guess that was my problem right there.
What was it?
It's not together. Shocking, everything is kind of like just falling all apart inside. It's a good thing I ended up getting a new one. The fitting in the back broke anyways. So it's a good thing I got another fitting. That's why it started leaking too. This hose came out. So by trying to get this through, this whole thing is just rotted out. So I ended up breaking this fitting anyways. This is the piece that I was talking about that it stays connected here, and I had to relieve it all the way in the back, so that's all the way back there. This solenoid still might be good, I don't know, but it all came out in pieces like that, and it's really not supposed to do that. So I'm glad I got the whole new assembly. Okay, I might have skipped a few steps here. I'll go back and look at the videos and see what I missed or didn't miss. But anyways, I got the old one out. The old brake line was pretty hard to get off, but I got it off using a pipe wrench and vice grips. It comes with everything new, so now I got to get those wires to go through and come to this back part here, and I'm going to use this. I'm going to feed it through to that, loop it up against those wires, and then just pull the wires through, and that should get them all the way back there. Also too, I wanted to mention that the old one only had one blue wire, and this one's got a blue and a white wire. I'm gonna look it up, but I'm pretty sure that this is the power line to the reverse light, and this is the ground. I'm almost positive of it, but I'm gonna look it up and make sure. But you may want to look it up too for yourself. Make sure you're installing it right so that solenoid will work right and release your brakes when you're in reverse. Otherwise, it won't work. You might even burn it out. So make sure you look at the paperwork for it. So I've got these two wires tied up to my my hanger, and I'm just gonna try to pull it through. Just do that with one hand as much as I can. And then as I put this in, I'll pull back on the wire to make sure I get the wires back here so I can connect this solenoid, and we'll see how it goes. Now also, something else that you might have noticed is that I didn't take these pins out yet. I took the one cotter pin off, and as I'm sliding it in and I got a majority of it in, then I pulled the bolt out so that it would stay assembled inside here. And once I get it lined up here, then I'll put it back in. But you don't want to take those out until you're ready to slide this whole assembly in. Now, as you're sliding in your assembly, you're going to want to make sure. Let's reverse this. It's not going to let me do it. You're going to want to make sure that your hole is lining up here. Hopefully it's pointing at it. If it's not, you'll pass it by that hole, and you'll have to pull it back out like I've got to do right now. So it may help to have somebody else give you a hand. What you're going to want them to do is push this in the housing while you go to the back where the end of the brake line is and fish the end out. Otherwise it'll pass that hole, and you won't be able to get it out if you assemble everything right now. So okay, so we're going to try to fish this back out. Okay, go ahead and push it in. Slowly. Okay, perfect. All right. Push it in. Is it in all the way?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Perfect. Thank you. So as she pushes it in, you gotta fish that back out that hole. So now that I've got that back out, I'm gonna push this all the way in and finish the installation of this, and then go to the back and reconnect the brake line back there, and then start the whole bleeding process. So now that I have the assembly completely in, it was actually really easy to do. My wires are almost perfectly in line right here at the end of my coat hanger. So now I'm just gonna wire these up here. So I got my white, it's gonna connect to this white, and I got my blue that's gonna connect to this blue. After that, I'm gonna test it, make sure it's working, and fill up the fluid. Actually, no, I still need to reconnect my fitting in the back here, and I'll be right back. So something I see a lot, which is, you know, fine, is these terminals. And what I don't like is, if you notice right here, they start coming out after a long period of time, especially if you've been, you know, tugging on your 4-way or your 5-way plug. That starts to happen, and as it comes out too far, you get a short. So I'm an old school guy. I use electrical tape. I know a lot of people are gonna think it's crazy, but I think if you solder these together, or even do a good wire lock, and you put some tape on it, some good tape, some 3M, you're not going to have any problems like this. I've pulled stuff out that's got tape and solder or a good wire lock on it, and it's still together, no problems. The key is you got to use some good electrical tape. But yeah, this is something I see a lot on professional stuff, and that's how it gets shorted out too. So just my opinion. Okay, so got that all wired up, got it all assembled. Now all I got to do is put the line in the back here back on. So because this is a little bit kinked up, it's not exactly straight, I can't get this straight enough to just pull it in, twist it in finger tight, and if I try to force it in, I might cross the threads. So I'm going to unclip this piece right here and bring this out, so that way I can get it in there at least just finger tight, and then maybe tighten it down a little bit, then put the clip back in and everything. So that way, because if I strip this out, I'm going to have to get a whole new fitting for it and everything, and I really don't feel like doing that. It might be easier just to take this clip out, pull this off, and angle it right, so I don't have to get a new fitting. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I got that done. Now it's time to fill this up with brake fluid. You want to use DOT3. I was told you could use DOT4, but don't use anything else, obviously. I don't know if there is anything else that you could use. But yeah, just DOT3 works good. Okay, so all you're going to need is a screwdriver, and then somebody over there with a wrench. I think it's a 10mm wrench to open and close your last brake valve, so bleed line. So on this trailer, it's single axle brake, so mine goes all the way down to that back brake disc, and then it goes from that back brake disc over to this back brake disc. I want to bleed that one, the last one, get all the air out, because I'm going to fill this up, but there's all that air in that line from what I just did. So I'm going to fill this up with brake fluid, then I'm going to get my wife out here to help me bleed this. I'll show you how you do it in just a second after I fill this up. So now I've started to bleed this. Now there's a hole right here and right here. Now there's also a little locking button right here. So what you want to do is stick your screwdriver in there, and it's gonna be hard for me to do this, so hopefully you could see what I'm doing here. And you're gonna push this button while it's in here. Now that piston came out. Now you're going to want to push it all the way back in until it locks back into place. So now it's locked in. So it's equivalent to you pushing the brake and then holding it down. But this pin is going to hold it down for you. So I don't know if you saw that or not, but that releases it. So don't push that, because then it might push it past the point you can get your screwdriver back in there. So right now it's holding the brake down for you. Now you want to come over here and then go to your last brake cylinder, and hopefully you got your setup. I don't have a hose. I thought I had one, but it was too big. Now all you got to do, hopefully this will just squirt out now. So it squirted out a little bit. You can see it squirting out. And then you close it. And you go do it again. Hopefully you have someone to help you. That way you don't have to go back and forth and back and forth. But because my wife is the only one that can help me right now, I'm not going to put her through that. So looks like it's just me. I'll let you know when I got it done. Now what you want to do is periodically put your brake fluid back in here, because it's going down the line, and last thing you want is to let this go dry and then you got to start all over again. So make sure you check that every so often. Don't let it go any lower than about halfway. That way you'll keep it solid. Okay, so I finally got it all in. It's all done. Got the wiring all done. I tested it with that strap, made sure that it was pushing that cylinder. It is. Made sure I got all of that old fluid out, and I kept pumping it out until it was clear on the other end. So this is how it came out. It was all busted up like this. All these parts. It was pretty bad. The whole thing did definitely need to be replaced. I'm glad I got the whole assembly. So I would say this was a decent project. On a hardness level, I'd probably give it a 7. Only because I've had much harder projects. But for the novice, I would say do some research first. If you're not a do-it-yourselfer kind of person, maybe find someone that is to help you, or just pay someone else to do it. The whole assembly and everything was like $266. Tax, everything, parts, fluid was a couple bucks. So I ended up spending about $270 total. Definitely better than having them do it and charging you almost, $700. So I say it's definitely a huge savings, but it is not easy, especially with all these little fittings and stuff. So I hope this video helped you out a little bit. If it did, great. If it didn't, sorry.